As a guy, the current culture has made it incredibly easy to get a girlfriend. It's literally so easy. The standards have dropped because of how bad other dudes have been fucking up. Think about it. At this point, women just want someone that isn't 1. A man-child, 2. Clean, 3. In a somewhat decent shape, and not even all of them want that. In college, I heard so many horror stories about nice guys. If you can't be better than thinking someone knows you a relationship because you had basic human decency, then you really shouldn't be in a relationship anyway. Have a job, have a personality and your own interest, have a goal, have a spine, and you'll have an easy time. Also, dating apps are trash. Just go talk to her. Also, uninstall Instagram. A lot of guys I know struggling to find a relationship are the same dudes spending all their free time scroll through photoshopped Instagram models and expecting all women to look like that. Dum-dums. Those women's entire livelihood depends on how they look. Are you putting in that same degree of effort into how you look? We both know the answer. Edit. There is a grammatical error. Do be clean and be in shape, or not. Dad bods are in. Do be willing to acknowledge your mistakes. Edit. A lot of you guys have defeatist mindsets. You'll find any reason why you're alone and perpetuate it in your every action, and you won't even know it. Yes, if you are on the spectrum, this post is nothing for you. It will be more difficult for you, and I will concede, location does matter. But for 90% of you, you just don't understand that women are actually just men but with vaginas. Sometimes, not everyone's the same. It's tricky. You'll understand when you're older. Beer crawls. Go to beer crawls. Short term, this is the best. Long term, you could join some classes like salsa cooking, etc. Find group activities where it is okay to get to know new people if you are afraid. For example, expat meetups for me are great since the general energy is usually a "hey, I don't think I have met you yet. I am so-and-so. Nice to meet you." Most importantly, get in the habit of just chatting people up, irrelevant of gender, age, or whatever. Most people are really interesting and keen to talk to you if you are willing to really listen. Dude, yes. It is like 100% about the emotional connection for me. I don't care if we sleep in separate rooms. I want to feel relief when I come home to my girlfriend, comfort, just the security to exist as myself. Luckily I found that 12 years ago, but so many of my friends, mostly other construction workers, do not get it. Maybe they do, but they'll never talk about it, and they can't figure out why their relationships fail over and over. This should be the top comment. Ops post probably could have been worded better. I tick all those boxes and can easily get into a relationship. I have no issues there. What I do have an issue with is finding someone I'm truly attracted to both physically and with personality. Some call it being fussy. I call it not settling for someone I'm not 100% into. I've been in toxic relationships and also ones where they seemingly perfect on the surface but the chemistry just isn't there, and it's just like we're buddies. Both ends of the spectrum make you feel more lonely and trapped than you would be if you were single. Sometimes my wife and I watch random dating shows, like Love is Blind or whatever. And it always shocks both of us when people act like total assets and somehow they're not immediately dumped. Like there's a new show called Sexy Beast on Netflix. Premises: one person and 3 suitors. They're all in prosthetics and makeup to hide their faces, so they're supposed to get to know each other on personality and interests. In the very first episode, the girl goes on a date with 3 guys. Guy 1 admits he's not always loyal. Guy 2 insults the girl's job and acts like he's a god. Guy 3 is a little awkward. Well, Guy 3 gets kicked off, and not the rude dude or the dude that admits he'll cheat. Like the fuck? I'm sure you know this already, but the people that get cast on those dating shows tend to self-select. Not that they're bad people, just that those shows advertise what would usually be very private aspects of a person's life to the world at large in a way that the cast has no control over, and that isn't something the vast majority of the population would be okay with, let alone think of as a legitimate strategy for finding a life partner. So it would seem to me that the people on those shows might tend to hold values that are very different from the majority of the population. Just finished watching the series myself. Had the same thoughts. The point of the show was for people to set looks aside and choose a partner based on personality, or at least that's what I thought. Then when I watch it, I come to realize that all the contestants are attractive either way and that the bachelor/bachelorette indeed do care about appearances. But as you said, some of these guys were jerks and shallow, but I'm sure the producers made them to look that way. I have been approached by guys in public maybe 2 or 3 times that lead with a hello and names. Then they usually tell me that they don't want to sound weird, but they wanted to tell me they thought I was pretty or fun or whatever, and they ask if I'm single before taking it any further. They have been respectful and kind even after I tell them I'm taken. Then they usually apologize, tell me my husband is lucky, and I thank them for their compliment and we go our separate ways. I'm sure that not every woman will react the same way as I do, but it is what it is. It's also not like I get hit on in public that often, but honestly I'm flattered when it does happen. If I was single I would totally have a drink with someone that approached me with kindness and respect. My dad used to tell me he would ask out girls in college and he might get 50 no's, but eventually a girl would say yes. It's a numbers game, but I wouldn't exist if my mom didn't say yes. You can do it. Edit, not actually 50 people, it's hyperbole. I would ask him for a real number, but he's no longer here to ask. I once read a thing by a guy who told his crush he had trouble meeting people in public. His crush, who was a conventionally attractive, young woman, replied, "No, it was easy. You just stand there, and people come up and talk to you." He told her that it was easy for her, not for him. The only time strangers talk to him in public is when, 1, he was buying something, salesperson, cashier, or 2, he was in somebody's way, with the sometimes, not always, excuse me thrown in with the, "You are in my way, can you move?" An ordinary guy, not necessarily a nice guy, in the pejorative sense, but a guy who is not buff, or tall, or handsome, or super outgoing and confident, often finds it is not at all easy to just go up and talk to a woman, and, as the Craig Alar person says, it is kind of presumptuous to think that you, as a regular guy, have some special thing on offer that people want to hear about. You know what though? There is a difference between shy and lacking confidence. You can be either or both. Women do not always sit around waiting for guys to talk to them. We are often just as happy to talk to the quiet fellow in the group as long as there are no skis vibes, which you don't seem to be giving off. If you have the energy and bodied language of "I'm open to conversation," you might be surprised one day. A lot of us are sick of the alpha males of the group making the first move. 9/10 we know your quiet friend is more interesting anyway, and you quiet guys get insta credit for not being overly forward. The shy introverted girls hate that stuff anyway. So instead of worrying about talking to someone, try being more open to being talked to. Your bodied language will tell them all they need to know. No convincing necessary smile. The quickest way to get the significant other is to realize and be confident enough to know you don't need one. If you spend your days obsessing about the fact you don't have a GF, then you'll never get one, because when you get a shot you'll whiff it out of desperation. If you don't really care and you're happy in yourself, then it won't matter if you swing and miss. Which is fine, by the way, even if it feels like death in the moment. Took me years to realize this. Wish I could go back and tell my younger self to fucking chill and just have fun. Go talk to them. Are you kidding me? Do you not see how fuck-ass mad people can get when you just walk up and talk to them? Women complain constantly about men approaching them too much. The only way to find a partner these days with a woman who's interested, if you are indeed honest, is to meet through mutual friends or hobbies. And if you don't have local friends and your hobbies don't include many women, you're fucked. As a shy introvert, I find the idea that we all have someone who we could pursue a pretty big assumption too. I have hobbies, I have a damn good job, both have 90% men 10% women, and all the women I meet are taken and are usually in long-term relationships already, and both of them I participate in at my own home now that I'm working remote, and I invite all of my friends over for D&D. I've tried playing public but I completely shut down. To be honest, it's flat out stupid to make such a general statement, as it completely depends on area, culture, social life and so many other things. For example, I have a well-paying job, I have my passions, take good care of my dog, have good self-esteem, I'm clean and well-styled, and good at conversation and group, and I'm kind to people. I don't project my expectations onto women or expect them to like me, or do me favors or whatever. But I have been single for almost 8 years now. Reason? I don't have an attractive face. I'm not good when it comes to romantic stuff. I'm fatter than your usual dude. And, since I have been single for so long, I'm terrified. But most importantly, I haven't found a person that I'll legitimately find worth pursuing. And when I find someone, they will already have a partner. So you could say, well, fix all that, and yes, you'd be right. But that's not easy. And if it was that easy, we wouldn't have so many people who have issues with this. So to me your post reads like, look at me, I have sex, just don't be a loser, which is frat boy levels of mind-blowingly simplistic. Yeah, same here. Fit, financially well off, average height and looks, diverse interests, and I make an effort to practice what I've learned from reading feminist writers. Other than a brief relationship that I didn't realize was a rebound deal for the person I was dating, I've been single for a decade. My guess is Op is still young and has a relatively robust group of single friends. The further you get from college, the less likely you are to meet and connect with new people. And even then, there's a ridiculous amount of luck involved. Hell, once you get past the basics you have control over, it's almost entirely luck. I agree with your last point. I do find that guys who complain out loud the most often have an unrealistic perspective of what an average woman looks like, probably due to their adolescent experience with girls mostly being looking at models and porn on the internet. However, your post does come off as a decent to good-looking socially well-adjusted guy telling everyone else to just be themselves. It's easy. There's nothing wrong with advocating for dudes to better themselves rather than complaining, but honestly, it's probably not as easy for most guys as it is for you. On your second edit you say you'll understand when you're older. How old do you have to be? I have been single for 9 years. After a 9-year relationship blew up, I have a son and 2 goddaughters from that relationship. And I treat every single person exactly the same. Women I gamed with online are dudes and brothers, same as men. Women I interact with socially are just some folks I play board games with occasionally. I have gone from 500 pounds to 360 and dropping. Have a full-time job, a car, hobbies both indoors and outdoors. I live alone, cook, clean, and I have a relatively neutral outlook on life. It is not incredibly easy to get a girlfriend, based on 33 years of experience through 5 states. Serious answer, absolutely not. Have you not seen the studies and data? There are more single, sexless and dateless men than ever before in recorded history. More men between the ages of 18 to 30 identify as virgins and or incel. More and more groups, subreddits are growing with desperate men seeking solutions to their problem. Sorry Op, I don't buy your theory, as I can attest from personal experience that women's standards are becoming incredibly unrealistic, which are at unicorn levels. The average, hard-working and decent man can't get girlfriend, let alone a date. In today's world of online dating, where looks, money and status rule, you just don't understand that women are actually just men but with vaginas. This alone shows just how naive and uneducated you are on this topic. You/low_well. Men and women do think drastically different, and it's far more than just sexual organs that make up our differences. I'll leave with the following quote from a men's rights activist, a woman no less, who says the following about average men in the world today and their plight with finding a female companionship. She's been at this for several decades now, and has studied men's issues long enough to know what's really going on in the world. But then again, we live in a world where personal experience and facts don't matter if you don't like the result. Yeah, this entire post is frankly really dumb. Good school, good job, very strong income, 7/10 looks, careful self-groomer. When I broke up I found dating to be very challenging. Ended up back together with the ex after a year and a half. When I was single, I was talking to a friend of a friend for like 2 hours, and in that entire time she didn't ask me a single question. So I took a hint. Mutual friend tells me that she was into me. I don't think I'll ever understand dating, and I know that I value myself far more appropriately than others do. I don't think it's a new thing. Previous generations had children much earlier than now, when the population of the world has expanded like crazy over the last 100 years. So I think guys never had too much trouble finding a girlfriend, and there's always been plenty of dicks who get girls. Popular culture reflects this going back through the decades, films and music, etc. It's just that methods have changed now. Availability of free porn online, mobile phones and social media have a big part to play, compared to meeting in bars, clubs, workplaces, etc. 30 years ago. If I go back to when I was a teenager, 18 years ago or so, guys with a bit of confidence, determined to get a girlfriend, would get a girlfriend. I had this conversation not that long ago. So if you think about where women were 100 years ago, 50 even, and what they pretty much had to have a man around for, legal stuff, money, and whatnot, it becomes apparent that women couldn't be all that choosy about men even when the guy was an absolute slob, jerkface. Flash forward to today, and women don't need men for most of the things that they did historically. They can get their own good-paying job, career, they can own their own property, they can vote, they engage with the legal system on their own. The list goes on. So the priorities for choosing a mate have shifted. They care less about a man's baseline ability to provide, and more about the previously optional things like, does he like the same things I do, is he nice to be around, and other such considerations. For the most part, men have caught up with this set of ideals. Most men are happy to be pleasant, or help clean, or whatever. Plus the dating pool has gotten bigger in both directions since we have cars and can go further in a shorter amount of time than ever before. But as with everything, there are some holdouts on both sides of the aisle. We all know those people. They are the entitled petty jerkfusses. It happens. Best we can usually do is ignore it. Sometimes you have to deal with it, but all of the time it is super annoying. So I just have to go to college and I suddenly hit all the marks. I'm a clean freak and go out of my way just to please others. I purposely burden myself so others have better opportunities because of my anxiety. I am indirectly nice to everyone without trying. I'm a clean freak with annoying act. I just can't go to college because I don't have a computer to do schoolwork online, and I can't go in person for school because of COVID and my weak immune system. I'm in Florida and everyone thinks COVID is fake and they try to say they got a vaccine when they definitely didn't. What do? I'm on the spectrum, and I have pretty bad social anxiety. I still manage to get an excellent partner who I love and cherish more than anything. Being on the spectrum isn't a crutch or something to let hold you back. It took me a lot of time to get over both my autism and social anxiety, but after that both of those things were not obstacles in my way, and that was merely who I was and the merit of that allowed me to get a girlfriend. I consider myself fairly successful with girls. I understand your point, but I also understand why a lot of Reddit users complain in the comments. Truth is, getting a GF if you are ugly is hard as fuck. You don't even get a first date. Some cases are unfixable, but for the majority of people it's a combination of dressing ugly, poor hygiene and some other factors. If you are ugly and serious about getting a GF, it will require some serious effort. Dress well. No, it doesn't mean wearing suits or expensive brands. A good fit and color combination are like the most important things with clothes. Use perfume, get a haircut, trim your beard, hit the gym, get some interesting things to talk about like philosophy, spirituality, music, raves, learn to be more empathetic. You can go to therapy even if you don't feel like you need it. And the hardest part, even if you do all of the above, girls won't be fighting to fuck you or go on a date with you. If you are ugly, chances are you can become normal looking, not Brad Pitt. You need to go slowly first, get to know each other, form a bond, even if it seems like you are just making friends at the start.